Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, happy lunch. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We're going to give it just a minute or two to give everyone a chance to get logged on, and then we will get started. Well, thanks everyone for joining. We had around 100 parents register for this event, so trying to give them all a chance to get logged on here. And while we're waiting, if you all wouldn't mind, if you right-click on your name, if you wouldn't mind changing your last name to where you're from. It's fun for us to see where all you are zooming in from. And feel free to, you can show your video or not, totally up to you. I personally like seeing your faces. It's one of my favorite parts, actually, but up to you on that. We'll give everyone just one more minute here. Okay, everyone, as I said, if you wouldn't mind right-clicking on your name and changing your last name to where it is you are from so we can see where everybody is joining us today. It's greatly appreciated. Fun to see your faces. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Heidi Simon, and I'm the Senior Associate Director of Admissions, and it's my pleasure to get to talk to you today. I'm kind of serving in a dual role. I am a staff member here at KU, but I'm also the parent of a current Jayhawk. He just finished his freshman year, and it was unbelievable. Time of his life, and so glad to see him through that. Also joining you as a Jayhawk, and something that I believe in dearly is the KU education and the experience it offers your students. And so thank you so much for tuning in. It's great to see. I can already see we have folks all over Kansas joining us, across the country. So thank you for that. I'd like to introduce you to our director, Lisa Kress. She and I will be your main hosts for today and answering a lot of your questions, but I'll turn it over to Lisa to introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisa Kress, as Heidi mentioned, and I'm also a Jayhawk, and I've worked here at the University of Kansas for 20 years, and 18 of those years as the Director of Admissions. How many of you out there are ready to be done home, having your students do online learning? Almost done. I have a 4th and 6th grader, and we are officially done tomorrow. I cannot wait. I am not meant to be their homeschool teacher, and it's been a struggle, but we are making it through. And we know your student senior year did not end as planned. We certainly hope they are having some celebrations this month. We know some of you, your schools have done virtual celebrations, and hopefully they might have scheduled maybe an in-person celebration later in the summer. I have triplet nieces who will be incoming freshmen here at the University of Kansas, and they had a virtual celebration, and they are having in-person celebration at the end of July. So they have to wait all the way till the end of July for their in-person celebration, but they were able to get that scheduled for them. So we know that senior year didn't end as planned, and we know we have some repeat parents here on today. We don't have a lot of new updates from any recent webinars, but we do want to share some information of where we are today with KU. We certainly love doing these parent webinars just to give you updates, and we certainly look forward to welcoming your Jayhawks here in the fall. So Heidi and I look forward to visiting with you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Lisa. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our special guest today. Not that you're not special, Lisa. You're very special. But our special guest today is our Chancellor, Doug Durod. And he's joining us today. He wanted to meet with all of you, give you the updates from his perspective, from leadership. He, as our Chancellor, he is over our Lawrence campus, our Edwards campus, all of our medical center campuses, and Kansas City and Wichita and Salina. We even have a small campus in Leavenworth. And so he has been very busy with all of this and everything else that's part of his job. And so it's my pleasure to have him join us today. And with that, I will turn it over to him to give you some updates.
Thank you, Heidi, and good morning / good afternoon, everybody. We are literally from coast to coast and Costa Rica. So great to have you all here and to have a chance to spend a few minutes with you. We're having our Board of Regents board meetings right now, so I just ducked out for a little bit to say hi, to welcome you, to congratulate you on your seniors. That's a great milestone, certainly a great milestone for them, but as a parent of 3 grown children, it's a good milestone for parents too, and something you should congratulate yourselves on. And while I am not an official Jayhawk, I have been working at KU for 26 years. I'm a head and neck surgeon by training, spent 23 of those years at the medical center, and certainly am Jayhawk through and through these days. Of my 3 children, my son's got 2 KU degrees. My oldest daughter's about to start KU Law, and my middle daughter's a nurse at the University of Kansas Health System. So we're pretty deeply embedded in this community and absolutely love it. Just a little quick framing, given this bizarre way of meeting, as well as the unusual nature of the pandemic. To frame it for Kansas, our state got in front of this fairly quickly. And we really never saw a real spike in cases. We had a slow increase. It plateaued and has now been dropping for over 3 weeks. And really the only issues we're having are in a few clusters in some food plants and some nursing homes. So we've seen at the health system, and we've been the primary recipient for the Kansas City metro area, a steady decline in the number of patients. I think there's only 16 patients today. It's been declining for over 3 weeks. And so with that, the governor has started to open up the economy of the state in a steady, progressive, but slow fashion. And the counties surrounding all our campuses are starting to do the same. And I've been impressed with the work that they've done to do this pretty responsibly. And so we feel good about that. We, like everybody else, went to fully online in the spring. Really did not have our students come back from spring break. It didn't seem prudent to bring 20,000 kids back from the 4 points of the globe. And so we did not do that. And as a consequence, we've had very little issue in Lawrence itself. I think we've had a total of 3 hospitalizations over the course of all of this. So we are reopening campus as we speak, slowly, starting with our research enterprise, and then slowly we'll be bringing on other elements of the campus over the course of the summer. We are online for the summer, but we will be spending the summer really preparing for the fall to get fully open in the fall, and that is our expectation. It's our expectation. I think we have a really good plan around housing. We're working with the University of Kansas Health System to advise us on that and probably to help us run some of that as we start to open up. So we do expect housing to be open. We do expect to be face-to-face. I'm sure it'll be modified, and we're working on that plan as well. We may not be having the big gathering classes, so we will be using different modalities to manage sort of those largest gatherings, but we think we can deliver the vast majority of what we need to deliver face to face. We will have some flexibility around that because we know some people may not be able to travel, or some people may end up in quarantine for a couple of weeks. So we will make sure they don't miss a beat if that happens. So I'm really proud of the work the team's done. We learned a lot this spring. We did it quickly. We got it done. We did our celebration of the graduates last weekend. And it was a celebration. It was not commencement. We will hold a commencement at some point when we can. The students were very clear about their desire for that. So we're excited to do that, for them to have their moment walking down the hill. I thought last weekend went very well. I think our seniors and graduates were able to complete on time and quite successfully. So we were pleased with that, but we learned a lot, and we know we've got a lot of work to do over the summer to prepare for the fall. But we plan to be here, and we are so excited to welcome your freshmen to our campus to have just the time of their lives, one of the best experiences they can have, and all the incredible opportunities that KU has to offer, from over 400 fields of study to 600 student organizations to undergraduate research. And we have partnerships with over 3,000 companies for experiential learning opportunities. And we are slowly working to figure out how to continue all of that as we go into the fall. So just want to reassure you that we will be here, and we're excited to welcome your child, and your student will have an outstanding experience. And I want to thank all the work Heidi and Lisa and teams have done through this. This is certainly not how we'd prefer to do it. We'd rather be talking to you face to face, but that time will come too. So we look forward to it, and I turn it back over to them to answer a lot of your questions, and we look forward to seeing you in the fall. Rock chalk.
Thank you, Chancellor.
Rock chalk, appreciate it. Yeah, how many KU alumni do we have in our group today? Anybody? Raise your hand if your video's on. As he was talking about with our graduation, it is our absolutely most favored tradition on our campus. And it's a blessing and a curse, right? Because when you ask students what is their favorite thing, they always talk about walking down the hill. And a lot of times it hits on Mother's Day, and I will randomly go and watch it, and I just bawl watching all the students and their families. And it's just the most meaningful tradition and the most meaningful experience for your students. But the curse is if that doesn't happen in person. I did tune in last week for the confirmation of their degrees, and again, bawling through that whole thing. But I'm so excited that they'll have that opportunity. They're still planning it. They're going to make sure they do something in person for those students. And I just also, I hope you caught in his introduction that he is a doctor, and he comes from a health background, and that has given me great confidence and security in knowing, both as a staff member and as a parent, that every conversation that's happening is wrapped around what is best for our students, our faculty, and our staff, and knowing what will keep them safe, but also very vested in keeping this a great experience and providing a world-class education for your students and my student, no matter what the delivery mode is, or what hybrid it is. As he did say, our goal is to be in person and have some type of changes under place to take care of that. But I think it's important that you know that he does come from that health mindset, and he cares deeply about all of you and your students. And if you just picture yourselves at every one of those discussions, there's still many scenarios being discussed at KU, as he mentioned, with housing and class sizes and traffic patterns and disinfecting and all kinds of scenarios that we're still working through. But every one of those, he brings your perspective and your student to the table. And I know I've appreciated that in every webinar he's given to us as staff. He always has public health and safety be the very first person that talks to us. And that just gives me reassurance, knowing going forward, we're not going to make a hasty decision. We're going to make the best decision for you and for your students. And then Lisa, I know he didn't cover one of the things that's our favorite thing. So I thought maybe you would give him that update real quick.
Sure. About the tuition, I would assume that's what you're talking about. So we are the provost actually announced on one of our parent webinars that, and they are taking it to the Board of Regents. It actually gets approved in the month of June, and we are holding tuition flat for the second year in a row. So there will not be any tuition increases. So the tuition price that was this past year will be the same price for fall of 2020. So we were very happy to hear that good news for all of our future Jayhawks, and that the tuition is staying steady, especially in these uncertain times. So that will officially be approved in June, but we're pretty confident that the Board of Regents will approve a no tuition increase for the University of Kansas. So yeah, that was certainly good news to share. And then if you had not checked out our coronavirus.ku.edu website, that's where you can certainly keep up to date on any updates that are taking place on the campus for KU. Any message that goes out to faculty and staff is then copied to this website. So on this website, it has a lot of information about what we did, and then on the right hand side, it says latest messages, and you can see those different messages there. And specifically the plan that the Chancellor was talking about our 5-phase plan to reopen campus is listed under the Restoring the KU Community messages over there. And so if you were interested in that, you could see that. We did send an email out to all of you with that information in it. That information went out in within the past 2 weeks to all of you, including the parents and all of our admitted students. So both of those updates were in that email. And then we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but as the Chancellor alluded to, there's lots of good planning taking place. Heidi and I don't have all the specifics of what that's going to look like this fall, but as we talk about different topics today, we'll share that with you. And housing is one of those. They are hoping for any student that has selected a room, they are hoping to communicate to students in the month of June what that's going to look like for them in the fall. So we don't have those details yet either, but they have a plan, and they're certainly hoping to get that message out to students in the month of June. So those are just a couple updates regarding that. And again, if at any time you need to check out information, the coronavirus website is listed there specifically for the University of Kansas.
Yeah, so I just wanted to just chime in on that, just in case we had people who just joined, that the major 2 updates right there is that we are planning to be in person with some type of hybrid approach to the in-person and probably online, and then also that tuition is being proposed to remain flat. Those are our 2 biggest. And then, of course, as updates happen to housing and what to expect there or anything else on campus, that will be continued to be emailed to you throughout the summer. And we will touch on the information we have now. But again, as Lisa said, not all the specifics that I know I'm craving as a parent. But at the same time, too, I would rather have us make the right decision than a hasty decision. So hang in there with me. I'm with you. But let's get to the presentation. A lot of you submitted questions. Thank you so much. We do develop these presentations based off of your questions and try to get to all of those throughout. We're going to enable the chat function later in the presentation for you to put chat questions there. So kind of hold on to your questions for a little bit, and then we'll also allow you to unmute yourself to ask those questions kind of in person. And with that, I'll turn it over to Lisa to give you an update on enrollment deposit and what to expect there.
We know most of you that are on this call have already taken the step of paying the enrollment deposit, and really the only questions we've been receiving as of late regarding the deposit would be if your student happens to change their mind, is the enrollment deposit refundable? And that actually depends on the next steps that they take with the university. The enrollment deposit actually covers first year programming, the KU card, and different steps like that. And even though they won't be receiving their KU card this summer, they would definitely get that in August. So we want you to know there's flexibility, but at the same time, if they do attend online orientation, or if they happen to have any housing cancellation charges at some point in the summer, the enrollment deposit might apply to those charges. But there is certainly flexibility. I actually would approve any of those deposit refunds. And so if your student has paid the deposit and then hasn't taken any next steps with KU and lets us know they're not coming, then we certainly refund that deposit. It's not like it had to be done by May 1st. So there's definitely flexibility. If your student happens to take next steps and then something happens and they decide not to attend, you can definitely email me and ask me any questions about the refund, and we can be flexible. Some have asked if they defer to another semester, what's the best steps, what should they be doing. That one is really an individual decision. So if they really are still looking to come this fall, and we encourage them to still attend orientation. If they really don't think they're coming this fall and are going to defer to a future semester, and they really feel confident about that decision, then it might be a good idea to request a refund now and go ahead and defer for a future term. So that's really an individual student and family decision, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about that once we progress. But there's definitely flexibility with the enrollment deposit refund. If students have not yet paid the enrollment deposit, we encourage them to pay that as soon as they have made their decision to attend KU, or they also can request a deferment of that. We never want the deposit to be a barrier to attending KU. It is $221. And again, we don't want that to be a barrier. So if there is any questions about that, feel free to ask.
Lisa, if you wouldn't mind just addressing real quick that deferment option, because I know
Sure.
in some of your minds already you're wondering what happens to a scholarship and things like
Sure.
that if you defer.
If
So
they defer.
I know
Sure.
that will come up eventually.
Sure. Yep. And then, yep, I'll go ahead and address that. And then we also want to let you know that hopefully you have your Rock Chalk Ready sign for anyone who paid the deposit. Our office shipped those out to students for free. You just had to request that it be shipped. And if you've just recently paid the deposit, you'll get that email soon. But we certainly hope you've been enjoying the Rock Chalk Ready. Bring some fun Jayhawk love to your front yard, and keep those out all summer long, because we love seeing the Jayhawks all around the those signs all around the nation. And so that's when you pay when your student has paid the deposit. So we know most of you probably already have those signs. But then just to address a little bit more questions, because we do get those a lot during these webinars about deferring to a future semester. We still don't have the answers about scholarships. We certainly hope to have those soon. But in how it works before COVID, how it would work is if your student would decide not to come to KU right out of high school, the fall semester right out of high school, and they would take even one class somewhere else, then they were considered a transfer student and they would no longer be eligible for their freshman scholarship. We are hoping to change that for students in this COVID environment, because we know that some parents may want to just keep them closer to home for the fall semester and defer to one of the 2021 terms. We still don't have the official answer for that, if the freshman scholarship will remain, if your student would take classes, if they would defer. So hold tight. We are hoping to have that decision made very soon regarding if your student defers to a 2021 term. But I do want to let you know that they would not have to reapply. They simply fill out our update form, and that update form is good for one entire year. So if they're a fall 2020 admit, they can just fill out the update form through fall 2021. They would need to send any transcripts to us if they did take courses elsewhere. So the main pending question is whether or not they received their scholarship, and we still don't have the answer to that one yet as of today. But the process is pretty easy. We don't want them filling out a new application, and they don't need to pay the application fee again. They would not receive their same housing. Housing would be a new process, so they would have to go through the housing process again if they were deferring that. If they happen to select a room already and they know they're not coming to KU in the fall, then it would be a good idea to go ahead and cancel their housing if they for sure have decided not to attend. So there's a few, and we'll see if there's any others regarding that as we get later on. But that gives a quick overview of deferring their application. But we certainly want to see them in the fall. We are planning to be here in person. Resident halls are planning to be open, so we hope they can start with us.
And so then the very next step, now that you've paid that enrollment deposit and put that yard sign up, especially in Springfield, Missouri, right? Right, Lisa? I see a shirt over there behind the dog.
Anywhere in Missouri, we want those everywhere. We'll send you an extra one if you want.
But yes, so the yard sign, and then of course orientation, and I'm sure many of you have already registered for orientation. If you've already received the email saying that it will be online, and those orientation sessions will take place on the exact same dates they were supposed to take place in person. They'll take place through June and July, and there will be some sessions available in August, but they don't don't have those available to be registered for yet. They really are encouraging students to get through in one of those June and July sessions. Since they're not in person, hopefully one of those sessions will work for everybody. It's just better for the student to have everything squared away. It helps the university square everything away if they can do it before August. So if you haven't received that information, it's very easy to find on the Office of First Year Experience on their webpage. If you just go right to their webpage to register. And so if one of our chatters could put in that, the Office of First Year Experience's website in there, that's where you will register for orientation. There is no parent fee since it won't be in person. So if you already did pay a parent fee, orientation is refunding all of that, and if you haven't received it already, expect it soon. But if you for some reason don't get it, reach out to the Office of First Year Experience for that. And then, as I mentioned, all the dates will still stay the same, and your student will select their orientation based on their major. So why they do it that way is because there are very specific advisors that are at each of the orientations based on the major of your student. And the reason why they do it that way is because they want to provide individual advising for your student. So that's why you only have a certain select dates to choose from. So what to expect before in mid-May, and so maybe it's gone out and I don't know yet, but in mid-May you're supposed to be receiving more information about orientation. About some of that will be mailed. There'll be some field guides that are mailed out to each of you and your student, and then as well as email information to you and your student. I don't know if your student is like my student who, I don't know, doesn't seem to think email exists. It's really just Snapchat and, Instagram. But I have to constantly remind him to go check that email. And it's really important because some of the information is just directed at them. And it's the university's attempt to start getting them to be more advocates for themselves and taking care of their own process. So make sure they're checking their email. That a lot of that information will be sent to you too, but do check that email for information on orientation. What to expect at orientation: there will be some pre-recorded sessions based on like services to expect for you and for your student, but there'll be a lot of in-person interaction too. So they will meet in person with current KU students to kind of help them through the process of orientation. And then they will also meet in person one-on-one with their advisor for an hour. They have an hour slotted for your student to meet with an advisor to go through everything. And they will also actually enroll at that time. So a lot of you asked in the questions and in the registration about when will they enroll. They will actually enroll during their advising session with their advisor. Usually what would happen if we were in person is the advisor would turn it over to the student and they would get on the system, enroll and pay, and they would enroll themselves in their classes. Their advisors will be enrolling them in their classes just to kind of help with the speed of the process since it's all online, but they'll be showing and sharing their screen and showing them what they're doing throughout this process so they know. Many of you asked about their advisors, and their advisors, some of them will actually have the advisor that they will have for the rest of their time at KU. Well, provided they don't change their major, because you know how that goes. They do change their mind quite often, but they will have some of them will have their advisor that they will have assigned to them through their freshman year. And then all of them will get the contact information of their advisor. So if things change or they have follow-up questions, they will have a name of the person that helped them go through enrollment that they can follow up with questions. And same for you as parents as well. We do get a lot of questions about credit and how credit transfers and what to expect there, whether that's AP, IB, CLEP, or college credit. So you can see all those websites listed there to give you more information about what to expect for transfer credit at KU. The one we get asked most often is about AP credit. We know we don't typically get those scores until after July 1. I mean, that would happen whether we were online or in person, COVID or not. We don't get AP scores until after July 1. So what will happen at orientation is your student will be advised based on the information that the advisor and the student have at that time. So they will wait for those scores to make any changes to their schedule. So if your student is attending one of the June sessions and has AP credit coming in, they will use that contact information from that advisor to follow up once they get their test score in to say, hey, I did get this score that does make me eligible for this next level class. So they can follow up directly with their advisor at that time. In these next few weeks before orientation, definitely encourage you and your student to go through the pre-orientation information that they send you. I mean, you will even sit down together and go through like pre-advising, where they teach you more about how KU's core works, and that's basically our general education requirements. And some of the pre-advising information that your students need, a lot of our students are still deciding, so there's information in there about kind of direction and how to pick courses based on if you're still deciding. So really encourage you to look through all of that information with them, go through those online, um, uh, they're not really webinars, they're just an online platform of things to do before orientation starts. So look for that information. You should start to receive that already. Has anybody received any information already from orientation? Any field guides or emails about what to expect during? Little shaking of heads, maybe some nods here and there. A lot of you asked about forms, whether that's immunization records. I believe there was a question about military forms, and all of that. Orientation has told us that all of that will be included in the information that they send about orientation, and will also be addressed at orientation itself. I know for us last year when my son went through his immunization record, we submitted online. We didn't even do it at orientation, so we did it afterwards and we did it online, and so they'll go through all those steps with you there. So I know they already have good, you know, good ways of having you provide that information in this situation that we're in. Lisa, anything with orientation?
I just want to let you know that my nieces are scheduled to attend on June 2nd, and they received their information yesterday, and the parents received it today. So they are sending it out in like for the first week of orientation, which starts June 2nd. They're already sending those emails. So if you're a later time, yours will probably be coming very soon. The subject line is the student subject line is your orientation to-do list, and the parent subject line is your student's name's orientation checklist. So those should be coming to your inbox soon. They started rolling out for the first day, which is June 2nd. So that just went out yesterday and today, respectively. And so it's always fun to see. I will be anxious to hear what my nieces say about it, because they always like to share their experiences with me. Well, I always ask, so I make them tell me. So they don't really tell me up front. And I get to see them this weekend. It's their birthday this weekend. So this is also math placement information for orientation. Initially, your students are placed in their math class based on their ACT or SAT math score. If they don't like the placement of that, then they can actually take a placement exam. They are encouraged to do that 2 days before orientation, and that information can be found at that website. So I'm putting that in the chat as well. And again, that information is sent to your students with that orientation checklist information, but we know we've also received questions about that. But if they're happy with the placement based on their test score, they do not need to do anything for math. So that is just if they would prefer to be in a different, they feel like their skill level is better, more reflective than what their test score is. So
Yeah, that's a common question I feel like about, is it required? Does everybody have to do foreign language or math placement? And they do not, absolutely do not have to. It's only a preference on theirs if they feel like, the information that's on their either test scores or their class schedule, if that's not reflective of what they think they should be in, that's why they have that available. But again, all of that will be in your orientation information.
all right, housing, that's me. So I've already touched base on this a little bit. But so here's a couple of things we want to mention with housing. Hopefully your students have already selected their room and are all set for housing. And then, as I mentioned, we did receive an update yesterday, and the Chancellor alluded to it earlier in his presentation earlier that they are going to be providing some guidelines of what living in resident halls looks like and the dining halls looks like. They have been working hard on that plan. They have been meeting with different people for approvals on that plan, and that included the chancellor, and so they hope to have that out to all of you in the month of June, so your students are aware of what that's going to look like in terms of social distancing and any other guidelines. The university actually did, just while we've been in this webinar, send an updated document out to the campus community, and it is on that coronavirus.ku.edu website. It's under the latest development link, and there is a small section of that about housing in there, and so you can actually, it doesn't give details yet. It just says that there's a plan in place and that this is all the different health guidelines are taking into consideration. And so I just wanted to mention that that is out there in the latest update that came out today. It's a pretty detailed document, so take a look at it. For those who've not decided where they're going to live, you're like, oh, still waiting, kind of waiting to check it out. There is still space available in our resident hall environment. And we just listed the different places that you can look to see the different types of halls. Right now, only Hashinger Hall and Stauffer Apartments are available. Those are the only two resident halls that still have space available. Just so you know, they have been really planning ahead for this and have set back some spaces in the resident halls in case they need to space out students a little differently. And that would be part of that announcement in June if that's what they're planning to do. So the Hashinger and Stauffer Place are the main places that are available right now. So if your student has not, if they filled out a housing application and not yet selected a room, we encourage them to do that as soon as they can with the rooms that are available as of right now. Then they can keep looking and seeing if spaces become available. They can do that every single day. I had a student that was a friend of mine, and they looked every day, and the resident hall room that they wanted finally became available, and they just grabbed it that morning. And so that does happen for students. The initial deadline for cancellation fees is outlined on their website as June 1. So like if you've selected a room and change your mind closer to August, there would be cancellation fees. But the Department of Student Housing has said that they want to work with you on that. So if you would happen to cancel after June 1, you could certainly contact their office to determine what those cancellation fees look like. So we would not, if you're just not certain, we've had a couple questions this week saying, well, we're still not certain about it, and we were thinking about canceling our room. They are saying not to do that. They'd rather you contact them if you have questions about that, and also to keep looking on their website. The housing website that we've listed there mainly just has which halls are available, which we've already touched base on. It's the Hashinger and the Stauffer Apartments. And I'm going to talk about Stauffer Apartments in just a minute. But on their main housing website too, just the housing.ku.edu, they actually have a link as well for coronavirus, and it's not this. It doesn't link to KU's coronavirus.ku.edu. It gives you updates that they have been giving students in housing about what they have been communicating out to students. So you could go there and look at that information if you're interested as well. And that's where, like, if they send communications out, even to like new admits, there would be a record of it at their website as well. If you've not applied for housing, if you're not sure where you want your student to live yet, we do encourage your student to do the first step, which is applying for housing. There's a $50 application fee. That's not refundable. It's a non-refundable application fee. And then your student would go in and select their resident hall the very next business day, if they've not yet even applied for housing. We know most of your students have done that, but some of your students might be looking to join a fraternity, and Heidi's going to talk about that in just a minute. The women that go through sorority recruitment, they don't live in the sororities the first year, so they would want to make sure they do have secured housing. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is some have said, well, maybe I want my student to live in more of a private room just for the health and safety of that. You really need to remember that housing is doing an amazing job keeping that in mind, and that's where they're going to provide these guidelines in June of what that looks like. But if you really did want to look into that, you might consider having your student live in Stauffer Apartments. This is just the third year that they've been open, and only the second year that they've allowed freshmen in them. And they put all the freshmen in the same floors. It's similar as the cost to Self, Oswald, and Downs. And then there's a 4-person option, and in that option, your student would have their own room and their own bathroom, and they do not have to have a meal plan. And then there's also a 6-person option where 2 of those bedrooms have bunk beds in them, and then the other 2 rooms are just single rooms, and all of those share a common living room area that's furnished and a kitchen. The 4-person does not require a meal plan because there's less students in that suite using the kitchen. The 6-person option does require the lowest meal plan, which is the 425 plan. Heidi can give you details on how that works, but I would recommend, even if your student's in the 4-person, to do the 425 plan because it has great flexibility and allows them to eat up on campus and things like that. So it's a really good option. So if your student was in a resident hall that maybe you'd rather them change out of, if you think the apartments is a better option, there is still space available in the different apartments. Our scholarship hall environment is full and has a waiting list. And those are a really nice living environment. They house 50 students in each of them. And so they are planning to have those open in the fall as well, because it's a really it's a good environment. It has good social distancing kind of already set up in them. So again, any guidelines that will be given about housing and the dining halls should be announced here in the month of June, which is not that far away, and will be only communicated to students who've selected a room. So if you haven't selected a room and you're just curious about that, it will also be under that housing website under the coronavirus link once the communication is sent out. So that's the update that we have on housing. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have later about that. And Heidi, if you want to go over the 425 plan and the flexibility with it, and then any other updates that you have.
Yeah, the 425 plan was the choice we made as a family. My son was living in a fraternity his freshman year, and of course he gets meals within the fraternity, but we wanted to be able to have a plan that allowed him to eat on campus when he needed to eat there. And what's great about the 425 is it's just like the other dining plans in that they get a discounted rate in to purchase food, whether that's in a dining hall or one of the kind of food court areas or the hawk shops. It's discounted rate when they use their 425, and it rolls over. And so that was one of the great options for students that are living in an off-campus situation. Whether that's in the fraternity or in an apartment, or, for example, in the 6-person at Stauffer apartments. So that was great. We really liked it, and it rolls over. And I think we looked at his balance a few weeks ago, and it was $200. So we're going to roll that over. So whenever he wants to get that crunchy chicken cheddar wrap next year, he still has availability to do that. So that was it basically works like a debit card, but it's only for food on KU's campus. So unlike debit cards can be used for other purchases around the town of Lawrence, this is only used for food on KU's campus. And so that's why I preferred it over his regular debit, and also because he got the discounted rate to eat at those locations. So many questions about this, which is Greek life. And for sorority recruitment, that information is already available at that website, kupanhellenic.com. They already have information with the guidebook of what to expect, and also the registration is live to register for sorority recruitment. They are still planning on August 16th through August 22nd as their sorority recruitment. I believe their move-in day is August 16th. So they will move in a little bit before the rest of the students to start this process. But everything right now is planned to be in person. I know they're working on scenarios and accommodations to make sure safety and social distancing and other things are taken into consideration. But right now, that is still the plan. And as Lisa said, for anybody who joins a sorority, they typically do not live in there until their sophomore year. And so they will most likely live on campus then their freshman year. For fraternity recruitment, there's a great website there, kuifc.org/individual-chapters. And unlike our Panhellenic sorority member friends who are very organized with this and have a great, easily understandable process, fraternity recruitment is always a little bit of this clouded and mystery process. And and honestly, the reason for that is because it's run completely by the students. And so that process isn't quite as straightforward. They do offer formal recruitment opportunities, and there was supposed to be one that was going to take place in June, but they had to cancel that. They're hoping to offer something in the fall for some type of formal fall fraternity recruitment for anybody who hasn't had a chance to connect yet. But a big part of fraternity recruitment is kind of their informal process, which takes place through the student's senior year of high school, as well as the summer before their time here at KU. And that's where they reach out to those individual chapters listed there to say if they are interested and make a connection there. And a lot of times it's like a dinner involved, or a gathering like that, just to get to know the people in that house. And so that informal process is still happening for some fraternities. And I think I saw one registration specifically that said, is my student out of luck if they haven't done it yet? And while no, that is not the case that they are out of luck, there are certainly houses that probably are full by now. But as I said, they will still have that formal recruitment process. And then also some students wait to join until their sophomore year. I know my son with his fraternity, he had one of his roommates that was a sophomore and decided to go through kind of the informal process through his freshman year, which was kind of a nice option, to be honest, because then he got to live on campus and live in the halls and, you know, meet people from all over the country, and then have another living opportunity that was a little bit different. And so either way is a great way to do it. But no, they haven't totally missed it. It's a matter of, though, the student really being their best advocate and reaching out to those houses and you know, taking ownership and initiative there is really what makes the difference. And as Lisa said, for the fraternities, they do typically live in their freshman year. So this is a common question for many of our families, is what do we do about housing then, university housing, if they're planning on living in a fraternity? Well, if they know they're planning on living in a fraternity, definitely don't sign a housing contract and don't pick a room, and because you don't need one. But some of you are using that kind of as a backup. Well, just know at some point the university housing process will want them to commit to that room or not. And so if they decide, hey, they're going to go move into a fraternity instead, they'll just need to follow whatever cancellation fees are set up at that time frame. And more of that, I think, will be revealed when housing comes out with their update on how cancellations will work. So yeah, that's the process for Greek life. And just know really the best way is to reach out to both of those websites directly, as if you have more individual questions there.
So I did put a couple websites out there. Since the orientation email went out, they actually do have a very specific checklist on their website now. So I put the specific, if you wanted to see it, that will be sent to you prior to orientation, but you could reference the website now. It's on the firstyear.ku.edu website, but I listed the specific link there. It also does share what immunizations and things like that, like all the different steps that are required to get started at KU. We also wanted to list the important dates for the fall. We do get asked this a lot. Hopefully you're aware of these dates. They are still in play for the fall. The move-in day is August 20th. If they would make any changes to that, they would let you know. But right now, that's still the plan for August 20th. And they send you a time to arrive that day. It's very smooth. It's very well orchestrated. We're always impressed with how well move-in day goes. If your daughter goes through sorority recruitment, they would move in August 16th. And then other groups such as band and things also move in early, and that would be shared with those students ahead of time if they had an earlier move-in day. That's also when Hawk Week begins. Those are our fun Hawk Week activities. The 2020 schedule is not out there as of yet, but you could see last year's schedule to kind of get an idea of what took place during Hawk Week. And it's just a really fun way, and they are hoping to have even more robust, appropriately social distancing programming that week to get your students excited about KU, since orientation has been moved to online. I'll talk about the bills in just a second, but the first day of class is planning to be August 24th. The semester goes all the way late into middle of December, as long as there's not another crazy pandemic break like it happened this spring. That is the plan for the fall. But KU is certainly in their plans that we are making when we reopen in the fall. We are certainly planning for all different scenarios so that we're ready for that since we've had experience with that in the spring semester. We get asked a lot, when is parent weekend? We are planning to have football. Let's hope. I'm saying bring back the sports. I just got notification that we can have baseball in Douglas County this summer, so our kids get to play baseball. I'm very excited. I'm just ready for sports altogether. And until then, I'm just going to have to amuse myself with some new Netflix series, as Heidi mentioned earlier. Looking forward to Space Force with Steve Carell. I think that looks hilarious. But anyway, November 7th is Parent Weekend in conjunction with the home football game. There is information out there on the parent website. And so once your student attends orientation, you could also join the current KU student Facebook page, which is a really active page of current KU student parents. You can't join that until your student has enrolled in KU, but you can also check out the parents.ku.edu website, which is a website for current parents, and it has the family day information there. No programming is listed yet, but there will be some type of programming. We know KU Endowment Association is having a tailgate. We know others will have tailgates, and some of those will require you to sign up, but none of that information is available right now. And it's also going to depend on how large they can be with all of this COVID stuff and all the guidelines that are provided to us. But, being outside, being on the hill, we can social distance, right? It's totally fun. A little bit about the bill and how you pay, because I know all of you are looking forward to paying that first KU bill. So get excited. Once your student enrolls in their classes at orientation, their bill is actually available pretty soon after that, but you would have to log on to see that. Heidi's going to explain to you a little bit more from the parent perspective of how they did that. The bill actually isn't generated and emailed to your student until that August 21st date listed there. But if you enroll in June, you can go see what that bill is, and Heidi can give you some tips from a parent perspective of how they've handled that bill. And it's not due until September 15th. What will be listed on your bill is tuition and fees based on the classes your student has enrolled in, the resident hall fees, that whichever hall they're living in, the dining hall plan will be listed in there. If they sign up for a parking permit, if they sign up for the cool all sports combo, which gets them into all the football games and all the men's basketball games for only $175, makes you want to go back to school for that price. All those will be added onto the bill, and then that will be due. And the bills are by semester, so you're not paying for the entire year. It's by the fall and spring semester, and they're due by the September 15th date. Oh, and then of course, once you have a total, any of your scholarships and federal financial aid are subtracted out of that bill to give you your balance. So that's kind of how the bill works. So Heidi, any parent advice you want to give?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, as Lisa said, that it'll have not only tuition and fees, but housing and meal plans. And just a point of clarification on the 425, it is only available for those that are not in the residence halls, except with the exception, I believe, of that 6-person in Stauffer apartments. It's available for those living in apartments or houses off campus or fraternities. And then I believe those 6-person options in Stauffer apartments. So yeah, as Lisa mentioned, the bill being generated, one of the common questions that we were getting as you registered was, what if there are online classes, and what if that is the only mode of delivery for KU? Let's say everything changes, the coronavirus takes a hard left and things change and we have to go online, and what would those charges be? So what the university is doing right now is spending a lot of time on preparing for the in-person, but if there is that option of where it does have to be online, they are taking into consideration the idea of a more flat rate, because whether or not you're in Kansas or outside of Kansas, the delivery mode will be online. And so they're trying to figure out what is still the right rate to charge. And so just know, everything that I've heard to this point is not planning on it being exactly what it is now. It will be some type of different rate that is taking into consideration that it is all online for everybody. And so I know that was a common question, and I wish I could give you a more solid, like 100%, this is what it will be. But I know that's just one of the scenarios they're working through. So as Lisa said, that whatever those tuition fees are will be on your bill. And so, yeah, it says bills are generated August 21st. Just so that you know, when the bills are generated, they're not mailed to you. They're generated and put on the student's enroll and pay account. So it will be really important that they either go on and view it and have you view it with them when they do that, or give you delegate access so that you can go on to view it for yourself when you're wanting to see that. So that's what it means by generated, because there's a lot of changes that can take place between the time they register for classes and that first bill happens. If they were to drop a class, add a class, maybe pick up the sports combo or a parking permit or something along those lines, that can change what's on that. And so that's why they wait to generate those bills. But just so you know, after they enroll, they will have charges on their account for the classes that they've enrolled in. And so a common question that we get is there a payment plan option available? And while yes, there is a payment plan option available to you, basically that payment plan option breaks it up into a July and an August and a September payment. And instead of having it due September 15th, it's due September 30th. So you can do that option, or you can kind of create your own payment plan where as soon as you see that charge is on your student's account, if you want to go ahead and make a payment at that time, you can do that. You don't have to wait for the bill to be generated. You can do your own type of payment plan. So if you're wanting to split up maybe between paychecks or between credit card bills or however, you have that option available to you, and then you just need to make sure that it's paid by that September 15th date. Just so you know, the University of Kansas does accept credit card payments for tuition, but there is a charge combined with that. So what I did, this is where I nerded out. I was a math major, so this is where I nerded out with my math, and I took a look to see if I were to put it on my credit card, would I get enough points to make that beneficial if I'm paying the extra fee? Or should I go ahead and do the electronic check version, which there is no charge for that? And it turned out it was better to go with the electronic check. I wasn't going to get enough return from my credit card to make it worth it to pay the fee, the extra fee. So I would encourage you to check that out to see what works for you. But those are the two forms of payment that they take, which would be credit card and then an electronic check. So you can, again, do that as soon as you start seeing charges accrued on your student's account. And then we have just some contact information for you. As you're going through this process, we did get some specific questions about majors. I highly encourage you to reach out to your academic school or department directly to ask them any questions you have about the major, but just know they will be at orientation, and that's where the advising will take place. So no need to contact them for pre-advising or anything like that. They will do the advising once you're there. And also, like I said, orientation will send you the pre-advising information. But if you still have questions about how will it work with the major, how will a lab work if part of it is online, or whatever, any type of those questions that you have, please reach out to those majors and departments directly. We also have the website there for your admissions rep. Everybody is assigned an admissions rep. All your admissions reps are graduates of the University of Kansas, very knowledgeable about not only all things KU, like that your student needs to know about, but once they're here and what they need to know about, they can be a great resource for you there. You've probably already received lots of information from them, lots of emails from your rep. They are there this whole time for you through the rest of the summer. And then your financial aid counselor. Everybody is assigned a financial aid counselor based on your last name. So if you go to that affordability.ku.edu/help, you can find your financial aid counselor there. And as you're having questions about this, let's say you have a special circumstance that has happened since you originally filed the FAFSA. Maybe there's a loss of income. That's exactly who you need to go to as your financial aid counselor, and they can help you through the process if there's anything that needs to be revised. It's a great starting point for you. They'll give you great links and great websites to go to, but they'll also be a great connection point for you there.
Our reps have enjoyed hearing from you and your students throughout COVID. It's been really nice to connect with all of you. So again, feel free to use both of them. The financial aid counselor for any specific financial aid questions, and the rep is just a great resource for you. And of course, Heidi and I are here for you too. Heidi and I enjoy and have really enjoyed doing these parent webinars. This is our last parent webinar for right now. We're not planning to do them in June and July because we're shifting to orientation, and we want your student to be at orientation. But if there's anything major that takes place and any update that takes place, if we need to have one, we will certainly schedule that. But right now, the information we're sharing today is what we hope continues to happen, continues to be for the fall semester. So we're ready to open up to questions and chats, and feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question. Feel free to chat if you have one. And again, we hope that these updates have been helpful for you throughout the way. We hope the rest of your May finishes strong for you and your student, and that you have a wonderful summer full of the things you love to do. So we're here to answer any questions. Oh, excellent question. We have not been given the green light yet to start back up with campus tours or even campus visits yet. We are not back on campus. And right now they've opened some of the research labs, and we're opening up campus slowly. And so we are continuing to receive guidance from, we have 2 committees for KU regarding events, and then we follow kind of just the overall health guidelines from the state of Kansas. And so like if we were able to start having campus visits, we would have to follow the volume that's allowed, you know, in the groups of 30, which is what phase 2 will be. But we've not been given the green light. So right now, we are not planning to have campus visits in the month of June. We're planning those to still be virtual. Actually, we're not even hosting admitted senior webinars in the month of June, because again, admitted seniors should be attending orientation in June and July. So if your admitted senior would have questions, we'd want them to reach out to their admissions rep. Families who live close by are certainly welcome to drive around campus and walk around. They are certainly welcome to do that. Actually, today when I was driving up here, because I am in my office today, this is my office, when I was driving up to campus today, there's a lot more cars out than normal as we continue with these you know, reopening even the state of Kansas. And so you're certainly welcome to drive up on campus, walk around campus. We do have a virtual tour on our website. So if you are not familiar with campus, you could pull that up on your phone, and it will tell you the different stops that you are on when you're up on campus. But right now, we have not been given the green light to start campus tours or campus visits yet. If I had a crystal ball, I would think it would be in August before we are able to do that, but it could be July. But we are not, from what we've been told, it's probably not going to be in the month of June, and maybe not even July. So we will continue to update that. We have a great website, visit.ku.edu, and it would be updated to reflect that we are back doing on-campus visits. Right now, it just reflects that we are doing virtual visits.
And I was just going to add that will make Hawk Week very important for your students. Hawk Week is the week of activities that take place between the time they move into the residence halls until the first day of classes. And they'll have a lot of sessions that they attend, anywhere from learning the traditions of campus to some academic focused ones, job fairs, student organization fairs, but also tours of campus. And I shouldn't really say tours, more of class tours, guided class tours. But if your student is still trying to decide and they want to visit campus, like Lisa said, there are other ways to do that besides through admissions. We did have one family, I think, where were they from? Connecticut, Lisa, I think, that they were supposed to do some visits during spring break, and they just decided to drive out, visited Lawrence, drove through campus, ran around Massachusetts Street when it was completely desolate, nobody there, and kid decided to come to KU just based on what it looked like on campus and the feeling he got. And so I think even though not everything is provided in the way that it normally is, there's still a feeling and there's still something to be said of just even visiting and being on campus yourself.
We've had some great questions about orientation, but I also wanted to give a shout out. I don't think we've given a shout out to our admissions team, Heidi. We have admissions on the Amy Nelson, Brian Palermo, and Angie Bass are on here with us today. They're assistant directors in the office, so they're answering your chat. So thank you to them for being here. And some orientation questions that are being out there. So I'll address a few of those, and we're also replying to them in the chat. But really excellent questions, guys. One question is about how do you get a major if you're undecided? Well, you'll be assigned, I think Heidi was talking about that, assigned one from the university, the Undergraduate Advising Center. And we have a whole those advisors do a great job, because if your student's undecided, they actually picked an exploratory pathway. They had to pick one so that your student is already kind of in an area of interest, and then your advisor guides those students based on that. But if it's your student saying, I actually don't like that anymore, I'm interested in this, it is totally fine. You know, a lot of students actually declare their major and change their mind several times, so it's totally fine to be undecided on what they want to do, and they just meet with their advisor and work through that. Another great question was, should a parent really be present at orientation? You know, you don't need to be on the day. And we actually probably forgot to address that part on that slide. We've been asked that a lot. If it were in person, we would want you to be here all day and have taken the day off for that. But since it's in person, I actually don't recommend it, because what you might most likely will be interested in are going to be more pre-recorded sessions. The day of is really designed for your student. There's going to be a student-to-student session, which is your student with the orientation leader, meeting with them online, and then that individual advising and enrollment, which we highly recommend only be the students. So you certainly don't need to be there. It's different being online, so you're welcome to be there, but you don't have to be there. It's really up to you. We do encourage you to read through the emails that you receive, so you're familiar with what what's expected of your student and what your student is supposed to be doing. And like I said, I put that before orientation checklist out there already on a website. And then there was some questions about when will they be able to get books or see the list. Well, they have to wait until they enroll in their classes, and then they're going to share that information at orientation, because since the bookstore is not open, Heidi, you'll have to kind of talk a little bit. I think they'll be able to do that online. I'm not really sure about that. And scholarships cannot help pay for books. Scholarships, I mean, well, let me rephrase that. If you would be getting scholarship applies towards tuition and fees and housing, but if you receive like a lot of scholarships and you would be getting a refund, then your student would certainly be able to use that refund to buy books, but it doesn't apply to books, because books are not, that's not how that works. So
Yeah, we checked out a lot of different options. We looked at the bookstore. Some things made sense there, and then we also looked on Amazon and found a lot of great used books there. My son basically attended classes the first week or so and kind of got a feel for what he absolutely needed, and some things he didn't need until later. And so we waited on those, and then I just took my cues from him on if we needed to get something, you know, through Amazon, or if he was going to go to the bookstore or whatever. So they just kind of figure it out through that time period. I also want to just pause for just a second. I know we have lots of chatting going on there, and give our chatters some chance to answer questions, but also some of you just to unmute yourself if you feel comfortable with that, and just asking a question real quick.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah,
Hello.
hello, I'm calling from New Jersey. My name is Pedro A. Martinez. I'm the father of Abraham Martinez. And, you know, we have we're planning, well, we have set up a trip for July 14th to be present at what they have going on from 7 o'clock in the morning. That's still standing, right?
Are you talking about an orientation? The
Yes,
orientation?
July. Yeah, we
no,
arriving there July 13th.
no, that's the what is now switched to online. That is not here in person. So
Okay.
no, we are not doing your orientation. The June or July sessions, the dates that your students sign up for is not in person. It is online only. And
Oh,
so you should not, I mean, if you planned it, shouldn't be traveling down here on that day, because your student needs to be attending the online orientation that day. And again, as I mentioned, we are not having visits scheduled as of right now. We may be having them in July, but we don't know that right now. But no, that July 14th date is online only.
online only. Okay, we already got the tickets, but we're gonna go anyway. And I mean, he's been there. He's already been in the at the site, but we're
Well,
gonna go anyway. And I
okay,
want to
you
see
might
it
see if the
too.
airline can, change that date to the August date when you move down. But if you do come down, he's going to have to be on a computer to be online, because
Yeah,
that's an online session.
you know, I understood that. We're gonna do that, but I mean, we're still gonna go anyway. We already got the tickets, so there's no way we're gonna lose them. But anyway, I want to see how it is there. And at the same time, the other question I had is, if I have a question regarding financial aid, right, I should contact the person they assigned to it, right, directly.
Yes, yeah, that's a great question. And actually, I saw your question in the registration, and I already reached out to your admissions rep. And then she's going to reach out to you first. Her name is Gretchen. She's going to reach out to you first, and then she's going to connect you with your financial aid counselor if you need to go, if you have further questions.
Okay, I appreciate that very
You're
much.
welcome. Yeah, it's no problem. Thanks for asking.
Have a great day.
You
I'll be
too.
still, I'll still
Thank you
be
so
here.
much. Yeah, and we would, yeah, we're glad you're able to come down. Someone asked about the orientation communication. The first communication will be sent out 2 weeks prior to your student's date. So almost like 2 weeks to the day. So like if your date's on a Wednesday, 2 weeks before that Wednesday, the student will receive the first checklist, and then the next the next email will be 1 week before their date. So if your date's not till July, you're not going to get it until 2 weeks before that date. My nieces received it yesterday because there are sessions in 2 weeks. They're in the first session on June 2nd. So, and then the students who are on June 3rd should have received their information today. So if you aren't on June 2nd or June 3rd, you have not yet received your student has not yet received the communication, and they send to students first, and then the parents get it the next day. So 2 weeks before orientation date, and then 1 week before orientation date is when you'll receive information.
Okay, appreciate everything.
Yes.
I have a question, please.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hi.
Okay. Hi, I'm Gracie Brush's mom and dad, and she has been accepted into the architecture degree program, the 5-year master's degree program. If she decided to defer, would that still be open for her? Is that a departmental question?
For the department specific ones, that's an excellent question. We would have to resend it to them because they admit new classes each year.
Based on space.
Based on space. And
Okay,
so
yeah.
she specifically architecture. And so she would be assured admission to KU in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, but the professional schools such as architecture would have to be sent to them. Other ones like design, where they do portfolio reviews, or music, where they do auditions. But many of the other majors, it is just automatic. But architecture is an excellent one where it would have to, if she defers, she'll have to be re-reviewed to be put in there. And so that is how that works. Now, if she's been admitted once, as long as she applies and hasn't done anything to like, and if she's going to be taking college classes elsewhere, that also they'll have to take the college classes into consideration too. So she wouldn't want to like bomb out and all of a sudden have a 1.5 GPA or anything in her college coursework kind of thing. So, but architecture specifically is not automatically switch in there.
Okay, great.
Okay, that answered my main questions.
Yeah. And then Elizabeth asked, where are the communications being sent to students? We only send to the students' email that they put on their application all the way up until the first day of class. They do not need to be checking their ku.edu email. We do not send to that email yet. Once they are here in August at KU, it switches. And then they have to always just check the ku.edu website. But up until that point, we send to the email that they put on their application, and we send to the well, however many parents they listed on the application, we send it to parent emails as well up until that time.
And then I saw quite a few questions about what laptop to get and where to get it. They definitely do give out information at orientation. The schools put together kind of recommended laptops to get. And so that will be available there. I'm not sure if that's already available on Technology's website or on First Year Experience. I know a lot of times they kind of leave it up to the student and what their personal preference is. For example, my student was in the School of Business, and we had heard that it would be better to get a PC of some type versus a MacBook. And then in talking with some students that had gone through it and some of the advisors, they said they can do either, but as they go along, especially if they're doing accounting or something like that, they use more functionality with Excel, and it's just a little easier to operate in the PC format. So that's where that's where we decided to go with that. But there will be recommendations from your different units. And I would say if you want anything, if you want to know ahead of time at all, feel free to contact those academic departments directly and they can help you with that. And just so you know, the KU bookstore does offer some discounted rates. There aren't as many options and aren't as many like financing plans that you would find at other places, but they do offer some discounted rates. So in some situations, it's better to you can save a little bit of money going with that option. Hi, Kristen. Yeah. Oh, you're muted, Kristen. Sorry.
Oh, this is not a computer that I usually use.
Now we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, this is not a computer that I usually use. So I was wondering if there was a possibility of an online option for incoming freshmen if they don't want to defer. My daughter has asthma, and I know people might have a lot of concerns and not just feeling comfortable sending their kids yet, but just wondering if that's a possibility that has been discussed.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. We are currently working on that, and it is going to be an option. We do know there are some health concerns and just wanting to just stay home maybe for a semester and defer, but would like to still continue at KU. But please wait until June. We're working on the details because right now the online classes that we had previously offered were more degree completion. They weren't like entry-level classes, and so they're working through all those details, and they're also working on a different price. And so we didn't really have a global price for all students, and so they're working on a price proposal of what that would look like. And then if that price proposal goes through, how does that affect scholarship? So if it's a different, because if your student was awarded a scholarship, they were awarded a scholarship based on resident and non-resident rates. And if it's a completely different rate, we'll have to also have a plan for what the scholarship looked like. And so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for the information. And Kristen, if you'd like to email it, just if you can chat on that computer, if not, you can email me. But if you want to chat me privately, your student's name, I'd be happy to share that information once we do know more details. But we are working on it. We are going to have options available for freshmen because, again, we would love to start with them. So if starting just online is a preference, we do want to have that available to students. We just don't have the details right now. So thank you for asking. I know we want to have all the answers right now, but there's so many details that you have to work through as a large public university. And so we're working through those and hope to have things more official answers here in the month of June.
Thank you.
You are certainly welcome. And that's an excellent question. So thank you for asking. We hadn't really discussed that particular option. Hey, Brent, if your email's wrong, just privately send me your new email. I'll fix it today. I can work that magic. Just send it to me privately. Unless you want everyone to see your email, then you can just send it out there. But if not, just chat it privately. Give me your first and last name and your student's name, and I will be happy to fix your email.
Can I ask a question about the Zoom meeting? How do you save the information that you guys are putting out? Is it after we leave the meeting? Is there a way to retrieve information, or how
You
does
can
that
save
work?
it yourself. We will try. We've been trying. We haven't been doing a good job posting those on our website. We do save the chat at some point, but under the chat button, there's where you can see where you can type your message. There's 3 little buttons, and if you click on it, you can save the chat. It becomes an ugly format of a notepad, but then you can just copy that into a Word document. So that is one way you can save it personally.
But then we
Okay.
also have the webinar recorded, and that there's a link to a YouTube link to that I believe, Lisa, does it go in the confirmation of attending, Lisa? Do you know? For the link?
I'm sorry, what? Does it
The
do what?
recording of the webinar that's attached to the YouTube, did she put it in the, did
It
she put it
doesn't.
in
It doesn't
the
include all these
confirmation?
links unless we spoke
No,
them
but
out
the
loud.
recording of the webinar. The whole webinar, not just the chats.
The recording of the webinar is saved. Is that what you're asking? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was reading chats. I was paying attention.
Some energy?
I was paying attention. I was reading chats. Sorry.
Attention me.
You can
Attention
tell
me.
that this is our last one. Sorry about that.
No,
you.
just the recording of the webinar itself. Like, is the link in there? Thank you for attending, or is it saved somewhere else?
And of course, I don't even know how to answer that question. I can't remember if we were putting it in the thank yous. But we did put the website. The website is right here. We did put that in the chat, and they're always at that location. But I don't know if we've been putting them in the thank you, because I'm not sure we've always had them ready when we sent the thank you out. So, but you can find them there.
So I had a quick question. So if our daughter was still undecided and teetering between a couple of departments, say speech and hearing pathology versus OT, is there someone that she can contact within those departments to get specific information, or should that still go through her admissions counselor or her or a different person?
Yeah, it's always great if she's just not sure where to start. It's good to start with the admissions rep, but certainly you're welcome to contact both of those departments ahead of time as well, just to kind of get a little bit more guidance. And that's where let's see, the ku.edu, the academic department website, ku.edu/schools-departments, and looking for those contact informations. And I'm going to look and see on our visit page if we have contacts for pre-occupational therapy or speech language hearing.
I was gonna jump in there. I graduated from KU with a degree in speech language pathology, and my daughter is currently graduated last year in that program and is in their master's program now. So I'd be happy to connect your daughter with my daughter if she has any questions or wants any information.
Oh, that's great. And she actually, no, I appreciate that. And she did do the tour with that department. And so she has a little bit of background there, but I was curious if, how she can compare that now with the OT folks in helping, guide her in the right direction. But she really loved it over there too at the speech and hearing department. Those people were awesome over there.
I'm always recruiting people.
You did a good job, Carrie. Let's see. Let's get you that contact for pre-occupational therapy, so you have someone to contact there too. We'll send that to you in the chat.
Great, thank you.
I did check on really quickly, and in the thank you for attending this webinar, we do give the link to the YouTube. But it may not be uploaded at that time. It says it takes 48 hours after the webinar to upload. I redeemed myself, Heidi. That was for you. I did want to do one quick shout out too, since the semester of your students' senior year is ending. You should request from your high school to send their final high school transcript to the University of Kansas by July 1st. We do need that information because we do have to confirm that they graduated from high school. All the high schools have told us they are still planning to send final transcripts. They're not having issues sending those out. Many of them just send it electronically, so they are still planning to send those. They should also send any college coursework. So if they're wrapping up college coursework or if that's already finished, they should send those transcripts. And if those college transcripts could be sent prior to the orientation session, that is super helpful so that we can have that college if it's sent now and we have it, their college transcript, college course will be reflected for their advisors to help them advise. Otherwise, your student is going to have to let them know what college classes they've been taking. If your student is taking summer classes for college and there's a fee for you to send a transcript, feel free to wait and send it after the summer class is over, but then know your student is going to have to tell their advisor, I've taken English, I've taken this, so that because if they haven't ever sent a college transcript, we aren't going to know that during the advising because it's not going to show up. We do not post college credit until we've received an official college transcript. So even if the high school posts that college information on the high school transcript, we have to have a college transcript sent directly from the college or university in order for them to receive college credit for any college coursework they've taken during high school. And then we need to have them send the final high school transcript. We will put the address in the chat, but a lot of them just send that electronically. And so when you request it from the school, they know where to send it. But if you do have to provide an address, it's to the KU Office of Admissions, 1502 Iowa Street in Lawrence, Kansas. And we'll put that address in there. But that's where you send all the transcripts if they do need an address. So please, that's just a reminder. Also, we have to have, I'm glad we remembered to say all this because we do send this information to your student here at the end of May, but we do have to have official ACT or SAT scores. Many of your students have already sent them, but many of our students who we've admitted, we only have self-reported scores. So they only listed it on their application and we never receive them from ACT or SAT. We have to have official scores. Self-reported can only be done for admission purposes, but to be an enrolled student, we have to have official scores from ACT or SAT, and we have to have official transcripts with high school graduation as well as college transcripts. So that's important, and we prefer to have all of that by July 1st. If your student does not send them, and believe me, we send them lots of reminders, they actually do get a hold placed on their enrollment in October to enroll for the spring until we receive all those official documents. And then they're always panicking saying, but I didn't know I was supposed to, and we've only sent them 25 emails to ask for this information. Just kidding, but you know how sometimes they don't read their information. But that information all goes to your student. So please remind them to have all that information sent to KU, preferably by July 1. If you think you've already sent them, your student can log on to our like the admissions portal where they can see their admission decision to see if we have final transcripts. They can check that out, but you most likely haven't sent final transcripts because your student just now finished with high school, and we have to have the one that has high school graduation date on it. We've received some transcripts throughout the year, but most people, we've not received any final high school transcripts yet because I don't even think most schools have produced them yet because your student might have just been graduating just in the past week or so. And so they might be sending them out soon, but I'm not aware that we've started to receive those. So we probably have not received a final transcript, and so that needs to be requested from your school. We know some of you do have to leave. We've been on for almost an hour and a half, so feel free if you do have to leave, you're welcome to do so. We're thrilled to have your student here as a Jayhawk in the fall. And so if you have additional, we will be staying on until your questions are answered, but feel free if you need to leave. Just know we are excited to have your student here. We look forward to seeing them. We look forward to seeing you. Lawrence has done a great job. If you do plan any trips to Lawrence, make sure to support our local businesses and the amazing food that we have here. We've been having a lot of fun eating out in different restaurants, a lot of great places to eat here. And restaurants are going to slowly be reopening as well.
Okay, I've got a question for you. I know you can't see me very well. This is not my first time through with as a parent of a KU student. In fact, he's number 4. But he is the first one to go in wanting a double major, but from different schools. So at orientation, how do I know that he's getting the best advice to accomplish both sets of goals?
Great question. So first, have you already registered for orientation?
Yes.
And then did he select, did the one he select have both of his majors at it, or did he just kind of pick his first one and pick that one? Do you know?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
So that's what where I would start. I would start with the Office of First Year Experience and just shoot them a quick email, give them a call, and just say, this is the one we're registered for. These are the 2 majors. We want to make sure he's going to have advising for both those majors at this orientation. Is this the correct orientation to be at? My guess is the answer is still going to be yes, that major advisor will make sure they're incorporating the other major, because they're many of them, again, depending on what majors we're talking about, are well versed in all the majors and all the advising components and know exactly where to find that information. But I still think it's worth a question to them just to see, this is where we're wanting, this is the day we're at, and is this the advising we're going to get?
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And congratulations on all the Jayhawks.
Woohoo, got a flock.
Got a flock for sure.
We know you're all going to miss the Lisa and Heidi show in the months of June and July. So if you do miss them, just go to the YouTube channel, because if you need some entertainment, I'm sure you'll enjoy them. So just kidding. But I'm sure that would be the most boring thing. I guess if you need, something to put you to sleep, you could watch them, because they're pretty long webinars to watch. But I actually had the parent from Connecticut emailed me because she watched the webinar, and I always give my email out in the webinar, and she said, I bet you didn't think you'd actually get an email from someone who watched the webinar and didn't attend, which I thought was amazing. So just to have it on the recording, my email is lpkress@ku.edu. I'll put it as my name right now. So if you have any questions at any time, I'm happy to answer them. It may not be the same day, but I always get back to people. You can ask Laura Ann, who's on here again. I do email, don't I? I always follow up. So anyway, it's nice to see everyone. We hope that you've enjoyed our webinars and that they have provided information for you. And we're super excited for your student to attend orientation in June or July and to get them here in August. So we're going to stay on for a few more minutes to see what questions you have. For the couple parents who have asked about just online only, be sure to send me an email as well. I did change my name, and I'm putting Heidi and I's email down in the chat here. But I have been trying to write your names down, and I'll email you too once I have information. But if you do have specific questions about anything, feel free to email us. And I'm putting our emails in the chat right now. Laura Ann, you're too good to us, too good. We're looking forward to it.
Elizabeth, that's a lot of notes that you took there. Very busy. Well, just want to thank you all again for tuning in. It's so great to meet with you. It really has been a special experience for me. I feel like your freshmen coming in, I kind of feel like I know them more than I've ever known any other class. And it's a big part of you all being part of this. And it'll be so wonderful to have them on campus. Can't wait. They bring so much energy and vibrancy to the campus, and truly a life-changing experience that they'll have here. And just warning you now, they're not going to want to go home much. Just warning you now. All right. Well, you all be in touch. Please shoot us an email, reach out to your admission reps, and let us know what you need from us and how we can help. And we'll be in touch if there are any other updates. Thanks again, and rock chalk, everyone.
Rock chalk, everyone. Have a great day. It's been great to see you.
Thank you, guys. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rock chalk, everyone. Kristen,
Rock chalk.
Kristen, I wrote down your information. I'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you so much.
And same with Lisa.
Thank you.